Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me borrow the car in this video. Toyota of Naperville is one of the largest Toyota dealers in Illinois, ready to find the right car for you.
Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2018 Mitsubishi Eclipse-Cross SE. Up front is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4 and down below is a CVT. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Eclipse-Cross for a couple of reasons, but mainly the fact that I've never driven one before. I've always found this car kind of interesting because it uses the Eclipse name, something it's kind of known for and we'll talk a lot about. So I'm excited to share that with you today. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you get a video of your car just like this one. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to that 1.5 liter under the hood, making 152 horsepower. Well, it's nothing too crazy. The 1.5 liter does its best. It is turbocharged, so it does have that help. And when you are higher in the RPM range, it does feel pretty powerful. But around town, you put your foot into it, paired to that CVT, you're not really gonna experience a whole lot, which is fine, especially for a vehicle like this. Now, like I said, paired to it is a CVT. However, this car has simulated 8 gears. So it'll feel like it shifts like a normal transmission. It's gonna drive like a normal car, and a lot of places will say that it is an 8-speed automatic. It's actually just a CVT that simulates 8 speeds, so don't let that fool you. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of CVTs. I've gotten over the fact that they feel weird. That's fine. Cars these days drive weird. That's fine. My biggest concern is longevity. CVTs tend to have a shorter lifespan than more traditional automatics, at least in my experience. Last but not least, the Eclipse-Cross is all-wheel drive. So with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 main gauges and a screen. On the left is my tachometer, on the right is my speedometer. Then in the center, I do get a little information screen giving me my trip odometer, what drive mode I'm in, outside temperature, all the goodies that'll cycle through here. I do like that it has a handful of different colors and there's some gradients on things, which is really, really nice, as opposed to a lot of Kia products have this one solid screen that's just black and white, no color gradient, no colors at all. So it is nice to see that. It feels a little bit more premium than what I'm used to seeing. However, one thing about the gauge cluster that I've never seen before is the turn signals. Now, I've seen turn signals before, but for some reason, only the left turn signal sometimes jumps timing. Sometimes it goes faster or slower. Listen to this. If you're a musician or into music, this will infuriate you. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my volume, skip track mode, and phone options. And then off to the right, I just have my cruise control options. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel is pretty modern. Feels pretty good in my hand, and I don't have any complaints about it. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent, as well as my traction control on and off, which is surrounded by a bunch of dead switches. But moving on to the door, I do have my power mirrors. They're sort of up on this like pistol grip. And then down below, I have my lock and unlock, child locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, I do have the infotainment system. So I haven't dealt with Mitsubishi's modern infotainment in quite some time, and it does feel a little cheap. However, it's fairly easy to use. This is a touch screen. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And overall, again, it does the job. That's going to be a running theme with this car. It does the job. It just doesn't wow me in any sort of category, which is okay. Something else that really bothers me that I just noticed, I didn't notice on the initial filming, is that the only volume is either here on the steering wheel, as you can see there, volume up, volume down, or this weird touch thing on the side. There is no volume knob. Why? Volume knobs are so easy. They're so great. Why? And Of course, here is what the backup camera looks like. It does get a backup camera. However, those lines that you're seeing do not adjust when you turn the steering wheel. Then down below that, we have 2 climate control vents and the hazard switch, and then the climate controls. I do get dual zone climate, which is very, very nice, as well as auto climate, rear and front defrost, all of those goodies. Down below the climate controls, I do have my eco mode, 2 USB ports, and a 12-volt outlet, and then we get to the center console. Off to the left, we have the shifter. Very plain and basic from Mitsubishi, nothing too crazy here. However, I do like it, works well, and it's not anything new. It's not like a rotary dial. It's not like any cheat code I have to figure out to get into gear. It's nice, plain and simple. Off to the right of that, I have my 2 heated seat options. They've been using these same heated seat switches since the dawn of time. And I have my all-wheel drive options. So I have 3 different modes I can put it in. Auto all-wheel drive. This is what you're going to use 99.99999% of the time. But then we do also have snow and gravel modes for whatever driving condition you might be doing. A little bit of that Mitsubishi Rally heritage coming through with that gravel setting. Down below that button, we have... Okay, here's the thing. I hate touchpads in cars. Reason number 1, cars move. They move around, they bump around. A touchpad is not good for an environment where you're being moved around. Second of all, I've never used a touchpad that actually is accurate or that I feel comfortable with. If I owned this vehicle for 7 years, would I get used to it? Probably, but it's just such a headache, I really don't want to. Lexus does this, and I ranted about it in my RC350 video. This is just bad. Bad, bad, bad. But down below, on the touchpad, I do have some very nice hotkeys for back, home, apps, and audio, things like that. That I do like. I love hotkeys because they'll just do exactly what I need it to without having to use that stupid, God forbidden touchpad up above it. Then we do have the power parking brake and the auto hold, and then we have cup holders off to the left. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 2018 Mitsubishi Eclipse-Cross. And unfortunately, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. I didn't really expect it to pass. However, I've made it my goal to test every single vehicle that I review. So unfortunately, the Eclipse-Cross gets a fail. Then I do get a center console with some storage, and then we have to talk about the seats. The seats are cloth, nothing too interesting here. They're decently comfortable for what it is. I'm not complaining, I'm not praising it. They're just kind of here. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2018 Mitsubishi Eclipse-Cross, and a couple of things to note. First of all, the seats again are cloth back here, like the front seats. They're not super cushiony or comfortable, but they do the job. Knee room, good. Headroom, good. The only issue is that these headrests kind of dig into your back. I guess if you put them up like that, they're a lot better. But in their recessed position, they're really uncomfortable, so you got to push them all the way up. Other than that, nothing too crazy back here. I do get a center console, 2 cup holders. I do get a 12-volt outlet that works off the battery back here. My hesitation with that is that if you have kids back here and they plug something in, they don't really understand how batteries work, and so it will drain the battery from back here. I wish that that was more off of the ignition and not the battery, but I can't win everything. Other than that, pretty fine back seat back here for an SUV in this segment. No complaints. Let's hop around the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so on the back of the Eclipse-Cross, and first thing I do want to point out is that there's actually 2 different rear windows, upper and lower. Kind of interesting, but come down here, pop it like that. And once we are in the back, we do have some storage on either side. You could see there. We do have a nice little light as well. And I can pull this up, and we do have the spare tire. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the test track is finally opening, so I can film the rest of the video in there. Thank God. But for the Eclipse-Cross, nothing too crazy. I would have liked to have seen a 12-volt outlet. Interesting that the back seat gets it, but the trunk doesn't, for like a tire inflator or something of that nature, but not the end of the world. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I have to say this is probably one of the redeeming qualities of the Eclipse-Cross. I think it's a pretty handsome looking SUV. It's fun, It's different. You don't see these a whole lot, and I'll explain why in a little bit, but, you know, seeing one of these out in the wild, it's kind of a fun thing. White, I do have to say, is a pretty boring color when it comes to this car. But now, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a Mitsubishi Eclipse-Cross? Well, let's start off with some positives here. From driving it, from experiencing it, it's fine. It's an SUV. It works. The SUV market is so saturated with so many different examples that this is just another wave in an endless ocean of cars. However, it's not necessarily a bad one. I'm not uncomfortable in here. It has okay technology. I have the dual zone climate. I have the all-wheel drive settings. It's relatively handsome. I wouldn't gag every time I open my garage. So on that front, it's fine. It's a fine SUV. There's a couple of things that really annoy me though. I don't know why the turn signal is offbeat. I don't know how that happens. The touchpad is more infuriating than spotty Wi-Fi connections. It's awful. I hate it. But the biggest thing, the worst thing, is the name. If you're unaware, Mitsubishi used to make a vehicle called the Eclipse, and they were fantastic. It was also sold as an Eagle Talon, which you might be seeing here, but they were fun. They were turbocharged sports cars. You could get them in all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, manual transmission, shifting gears, big turbo. That's what I loved. The Eclipse was a great car. All of its generations, even the 4th generation, of which I haven't reviewed. It was a star car in the Fast and Furious, both 1 and 2. But the Eclipse was canceled in 2012, and so we didn't get those cars anymore. Unfortunately, that's just the way Mitsubishi moved. But then, for 2018, they said, let's bring back the Eclipse name. Something so beloved by so many of our fans. And then you slap it on an SUV that encompasses 0.0% of what the original Eclipse used to be. And so there's 2 reasons why a car maker would do this, why they would reuse and rehash an old name, because Mitsubishi is nowhere near the first people to do it. Well, first of all, brand recognition. Mitsubishi Eclipse has been in the zeitgeist for the last 30 years. If you say Mitsubishi Eclipse, people know what that is. Brands want that. It's hard to get a new name off the ground. The second reason is copyrights. Whenever an automaker names a vehicle, they have to go get it copywritten. Costs a lot of money to make sure that no one else is going to use that name. Well, Mitsubishi already owned the name Eclipse. Just toss it on. Now, that's cheap and infuriating, sure, but that was probably one of the reasons. Ford did it with the Mustang Mach-E. They also did it with the Ford Taurus X and the Maverick. But what's unfortunate is that this vehicle has strayed so far from what the Eclipse name used to mean when it came to Mitsubishi. And I think that was a big reason as to why this vehicle didn't perform super well. The first year they sold them, they sold about 9,500 of them, 9,500 units. Sure, that's okay for a first year. And the second year, 2019, they actually sold just under 20,000 of them. All right, that's a pretty good start. But now the most recent sales number for 2021 was back down to just over 8,000 units. People stopped caring. People stopped caring about Mitsubishi. I'll be honest. I don't review many on the channel, but not out of lackluster. It's just, I don't see them all that much. People don't buy them. And so with that name, Eclipse, they might as well have shot themselves in the foot. Or really what they did was they fired their fan base without severance. They said, hey, you guys remember those? Those awesome, awesome cars? Yeah, well, here's this. Figure it out. And I think a lot of people felt betrayed, myself included. I heard a new Eclipse was coming, but I didn't expect it to be this. This car is okay. If you own one, I don't want this video to make you feel bad about your purchase. It's a fine car. It's going to get you from point A to point B. Might not last you until the end of days, but I don't know a modern car that really will. They're all kind of built to break. But as a car enthusiast, someone that loved the original Eclipse so dang much, this was hard to take. This was hard to stomach. And that is unfortunate. Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me take out their Eclipse-Cross, finally checking this vehicle off my list. Seeing what all the hubbub was about, Toyota of Naperville is absolutely awesome. We've been working together for years. I cannot say enough good things about them. My service and experiences have been absolutely top-notch. I love Toyota of Naperville, and you should check them out with the information up on the screen or linked in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.